5, 6, 7, 8. Ooh, do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. Ah, da, 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 da.
Chicago, Chicago, I love ya, Chicago.
That's a great voice you got there, young lady. I think
you're always a day.
I think you're gonna be a star. I'm gonna give you this sheet of paper with a bunch of names, and I want you to read them and tell me exactly what you do. This is the test.
Okay.
These are my patrons, and I need you to read about my patrons. And I'll make you a star, kid.
All right. Stephanie L., Terry Needleman, Max Luning, Benjamin Leary, Lily Ackles, Mackenzie Horner, John Donna, Taryn the Duck, The Fantastic Jess Lightning, Ewan Cassidy, Haley McDonald, Tess Gear, Fire September, Mina Maniri, Monica Thoreau, Brent Black, Haley Murray, Allison Wonderland, B-Way Flicks, Nathaniel Stacey Coombe, Joseph Evans Green, Luna Rocks 222, Irigale Drew A. Whiter, Carrie Ahern, Christine Malmadale, Mezzanine Theater Diary, Mary Lucio, Kent, Ann Nunnally, Cole Birchfield, Sam Caulfield, John Vanals, Holy Sticality, Russ Walker, Musical Hell, Julian Bach, and Emily Grace.
Oh my god, kid, that was a great read. But unfortunately, I don't think you got the gusto to make it in show business.
Yeah, but can you at least help me with my murder trial?
No. Unless you got $5,000.
$5,000?
Gotta give me $5,000 or you can just shoot me, you know.
Man, imagine getting a high-end lawyer for $5,000.
Yeah. But those folks you just read off helps us keep the lights on here at Musicals with Cheese. If you would like to join them and get a bunch of cool stuff, including a brand new podcast where Andrew and I watch Glee at once a week, come join us. All right, let's get to the show. Hello, I'm Jesse McAnally.
And I'm Andrew DeWolf.
And welcome to Musicals with Cheese, a podcast where I try to get Andrew to like musical theater. How are you doing today, Andrew?
I am doing pretty good.
Got anything going on? I see you've been in a lot of the papers recently.
Oh,
apparently you shot your husband.
It's a media circus out there. I didn't do it.
Why'd you... What? You didn't do it? But you were there. You had the gun from your bureau.
We both reached for the gun.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, what a story. What a story. What a scoop.
Oh, yeah. In fact, I was much weaker and less strong, so it made perfect sense for me to shoot them.
You're right. It's completely defensible. You're right. You're going to win this trial. You're not going to hang. Any goals for when you get out of jail?
Out of jail? Oh, boy, howdy. I sure hope that happens. I can't afford my big shot $5,000 lawyer. I can't speak English, so they just hang me because they're all racist.
We're doing Chicago, guys.
Guys, we're doing Chicago.
Yeah. This is a Patreon request by Carrie Ahern, so we're blaming her.
She's got us by a Hungarian rope.
A Hungarian noose around our necks.
We got no choice.
Come on, babe, why don't we paint the town? And all that jazz, I'm gonna rouge my knees and roll my stockings down. And all that jazz, start the car, I know a whoopee spot where the gin is cold but the piano's hot. It's just a noisy hall where there's a nightly brawl. And all that jazz.
All right, what's Chicago? What is Chicago, Jess? You run it by us.
Run it by you? Does anyone out here not know what Chicago is?
It's a city in Illinois?
Yeah, that is correct. But Chicago is also an American musical with music and lyrics by John Kander and Fred Ebb, respectively, and a book by Ebb and Bob Fosse. Set in Chicago in the Jazz Age, the musical is based on a 1926 play of the same name by reporter Maureen Dallas Watkins about actual criminals and crimes that she reported on. The story is a satire on corruption of the administration and the criminal justice system and the concept of a celebrity criminal. The original Broadway production opened in 1975 at the 46th Street Theater and ran for 936 performances until 1977. Bob Fosse choreographed the original production, and his style strongly identified with the show itself. It debuted in the West End in 1979, where it ran for 600 performances. Chicago was revived on Broadway in 1996, and a year later on the West End. The 1996 Broadway production holds the record for the longest-running musical revival and the longest-running American musical in Broadway history. It is the second longest-running show to ever run on Broadway, only behind The Phantom of the Opera. Chicago surpassed Cats on November 23, 2014, when it played its 7,486th performance. The West End revival became the longest-running American musical in the West End history. Chicago has been staged in numerous productions around the world and has toured extensively in the United States and the United Kingdom. The 2002 film version of the musical won the Academy Award for Best Picture. All right, Andrew.
That's
what did
a lot
you think
of
of Chicago?
Well, it's pretty good.
This is a Patreon request, and this has been like a near start several times where we've almost done Chicago because we've had good guests. And I've always wanted to get a good guest for this because I don't have anything new to say about Chicago. And I don't imagine Andrew does either, but here we are, guest list, and just kind of wistfully sitting in the water of Chicago. So, Andrew, what happens in the musical Chicago? Tell us your interpretation of the story of Chicago.
Okay, well, you got three major players. You got Velma and Roxy, who are both celebrity murderers who killed someone they were having an affair with or something like that.
Now, when you say celebrity murderers, are you thinking like O.J. Simpson type or Scott Peterson type?
Well, I don't actually know who Scott Peterson is, but...
Were they famous before the trial, or were they famous like because of the trial?
This is like a weird mix of both. It's like they were famous before the trial, and then they got more famous because of the trial. Mm-hmm. So there's that. And then, of course, you have the third player, Billy Flynn, who is a big shot lawyer type.
Showbiz lawyer type, hasn't lost a single case ever.
Yep. He gets all these girls off because, boy, he likes getting girls out of jail for murder. As long as they give him $5,000, of course.
Yes, he loves his money.
And the whole story is basically, I would say Roxy is the main character, really.
Yes, she has the I Want song.
And she kills her lover, but not her husband.
Yes.
And then she goes to jail and gets Billy to get her out. And that's the whole story, pretty much. And it's just about all the stuff that happens in between.
But Roxy has an ulterior motive. She doesn't just want to get out of jail. She wants to be a star.
Yep, and she wants to use the murder to make her more famous.
Yes, and she successfully does it in the end. Like, her and Velma both successfully overcome their accused murderers and become even more famous because of it.
Basically, the show is about how Chicago is a hellhole where murderers thrive.
Yeah, I mean, Al Capone was from there, so I guess.
Yeah.
I tried to refute it, but I couldn't think of anything, so I'm stuck. And I'm from Detroit.
Well, I mean, isn't Chicago a worse town than Detroit, honestly?
Less safe, yes.
Murderers on every corner, and they all are doing well.
They're doing well and they can afford guns, unlike Detroit where they're just stuck with beer bottles.
Hey, but they're trying in Detroit.
They're trying to catch up there.
Okay. I mean, yeah, that's the main idea of the story. What would you say about the structure of this? How would you describe it?
You see, I think this is this is the most Bob Fosse musical there ever is, and there's a reason why this is really connected with his style. So much so that the original production was him, and you've seen All That Jazz. I made you watch All That Jazz. Yeah. So the musical that they were putting on in All That Jazz was based on Chicago. That was the musical that almost killed
All
him.
That Jazz is the first song in this show. So
yes, and it was just a saying and all that. But this musical nearly killed Bob Fosse because he was directing a film, directing this musical and choreographing it, and he was choreographing it as a star vehicle for his ex-wife. And yeah, he had a heart attack right before the production started and almost died.
It's a mess.
And it was in a position where the show was so insured that they would have made more money if he had died and they got their insurance money than if the show had gone on.
Well, I mean, this show has made a lot of money over the years, I'm sure.
Not in that initial production. That initial production, what had happened was, and I'm just stealing a lot of this from the Bob Fosse book as well as the Fosse Verdon TV show. He put on the show with his wife, Gwen Verdon, who was like a faded Broadway star, but still well respected.
Yeah.
And Cheetah Rivera. She played Roxy, and basically the role was designed for her, and she was on the older side, so the vocals were lowered and the dance skill was lowered as well because of that. And the people saw the show and they were like, it's really grim, it's mean, and Gwen Verdon isn't great in it. Then Gwen, like, had some shit good into her throat because of one of the pop, like, explosions during it. She, like, inhaled, like, gas or something. Ooh. And she couldn't sing anymore for a good period. So Fosse was like, I'm friends with Liza Minnelli, she'll step in. And they kept it a secret, and they didn't tell anyone. They didn't announce it in any trades. They just put it out there. And the mystery behind Liza Minnelli coming back to the show was, like, more enticing for people to see the show. And people started re-reviewing it with Liza in it. And then the show became more successful because they had that big star power there.
Ironically, they had to make a media circus to create a better show.
A more popular show. But even that original production still wasn't the juggernaut that the revival was. So Bob Fosse dies in the 80s. And this show kind of goes into remission for a while. Then Bob Fosse's lover, Anne Reinking, teams up with Gwen Verdon to revive this, and she starred as Roxy herself. So Bob Fosse's ex-wife, Gwen Verdon, played Roxy originally, and now in the new revival production, Anne Reinking, who is his lover and his longtime partner after Gwen Verdon, plays Roxy there. And that is the one big one that basically reinvented the entire style of the show to look like the more dark, like, black dresses, the, like, silky skirts and all that.
Yeah.
It defined the visual style that Rob Marshall then took into the movie and made iconic and won a bunch of awards and all that.
Yes.
And that is still the production that's playing on Broadway in the West End.
And that's the one that makes money.
Yes, that is how this show that didn't flop but didn't, like, steal the world eventually stole the world.
I mean, it's not a bad show, though, is the thing.
No, but I feel like Cabaret was just this huge juggernaut of a show, and this was always underneath it in the shadow of it. Both under Bob Fosse's shadow from the movie and under Hal Prince's shadow from the original Broadway show. So it was really hard to kind of separate it because nobody quite knew what it was or the message and this was back in the forget your troubles, come on and get happy days.
Now, why do you think the revival did so much better? What did they really change that made it more successful? Or was it just a right place, right time kind of thing? Like there was nothing good out and then the revival just kind of appears.
I call the 90s a very dark period for musical theater to begin with.
What is it, like the Bronze Age? Do people do ages for musicals yet?
They probably do, but like they have the golden age of musicals, I know that. But it was a dark period where only Sondheim and Lloyd Webber are really releasing things because the AIDS crisis wiped out a bunch of them. So the only good stuff is being made by mostly Sondheim, a little bit of Jerry Herman, like every now and then, and mostly just Sondheim and Lloyd Webber are the main big ones, and then the rest of it you're getting like Seussical.
Well, yeah, and I mean Seussical's a classic and all, but I've never seen it.
So this revival almost felt like a brand new show when they came out. Like, oh, yeah. And a lot of the people that were really into like the Broadway politics of like the 70s weren't around anymore to have an opinion. And also I think that Anne Reinking is just a better age suit, and the dance musical kind of had died off, and having a comeback here was really impressive. Yeah, so more or less there was a right place, right time to it, and the competition of other musicals was a really big part of it too.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of like kind of mediocre shows in that era just skyrocketed to like massive success.
I mean, if we didn't praise mediocrity, like as much as I love Les Mis, compared to, like, that was the British domination of things. Like, the Miss Saigons, the Les Mis, the Phantom of the Operas.
Yep.
Like, all the big money makers were coming from London and not the American homegrown ones.
Gotta buy American made.
I mean, I don't want to say, like, all the British made stuff is garbage, because it isn't.
Yeah.
That's a really reductive and snobby way to say it. It's just a different type of musical, and this is a good old American musical.
It's one about murder, being in Chicago where murders happen, the justice system not being very fair, celebrities getting special treatment in our American justice. This is a really American show.
It really is. And one more thing before we actually talk about the show, about like the history and why I think this has such a longevity to it, not only because that revival is so successful, but you have at least 3 roles that are significant parts of the stage, like stage presence, that you don't really need to be able to sing and dance for. You got Roxy, who they always cast a big celebrity in that role, because anyone can step into that role and perform it decently. Which, in the movie, you have Renee Zellweger doing about as good a job as anyone else does, because Roxy is such an easy, so quote-unquote easy part to play.
Written intentionally that way, so.
To appease Bob Fosse's wife, who is getting older.
Which ironically ended up being probably a good thing for the show, because now it's a really good celebrity vehicle.
Yes, and also Billy Flynn is another big one.
Mm-hmm.
And people like Taye Diggs and Billy Ray Cyrus have played Billy Flynn.
I wouldn't have wanted to see that, but I'm sure they have.
It's amazing. And then, of course, you have Mama Give to You, who's been played by a bunch of famous people, too. So there's a really good chance for a lot of famous people to step into these roles.
How about
keep the show interesting.
How about the guy that sings a single song, Mr. Cellophane himself?
You get a lot of character actors, but that also... You kind of want a good singer for that. Like, in the film, they had John C. Reilly, who killed that fucking song and, like, made it his own so much that a lot of people can't listen to other versions anymore.
I only listen to the Glee version myself.
Shout out to our Glee podcast, currently on Patreon. But no, this is as American as it comes. It's about capital punishment, and it's about all the American themes.
It's all American. It's all Book of Mormon.
Yeah.
All Book of Mormon tonight. All right.
Yeah. I mean, I think the show is good, but I don't have much to say about it is the thing. And that's like the worst thing. It's like everyone knows exactly what this show is going to be about.
Okay. I want to talk about the famous like costume and set design, because I feel like it maybe is a product of the 90s a little too much.
I'd like you to explain.
Okay. It's all black, and they're kind of just wearing underwear, which I'm fine with that aspect of it, but like everyone is just wearing dark colors, and it's like watching a funeral, but everyone's dancing. It's kind of odd. And
it's a stylistic choice, and I think it's done. I don't much like this Broadway revival, and I kind of wish they would update it every now and then, because I feel what you're saying.
It reminds me of, like, I don't know, like The Matrix or something like that, where like everyone's just wearing dark clothing, and it's like it's that era of like just darkness, I guess. And I that might even be 2 different eras, like, because that's like early 2000s, but at the same time, that's what it feels like. It's just brighten it up a little bit. Can we have some colors? Where are the colors?
And that original production was very colorful. It was like very based on pastels, like the 70s production, and the 90s production took all that away and made it dark and quote-unquote edgy.
Yeah, but it's really not even edgy, other than the fact that they're just wearing underwear, I guess. But, like, wear colorful underwear.
The thing I think the movie does well, and I don't mean to jump to the movie quite yet, but we're going to have to talk about it eventually, but I'm going to have the hashtag controversial opinion that I think this story works better as a movie than it does a Broadway show.
Well, it was written by a filmmaker, right? Maybe it makes a little sense.
Well, it was a guy that could see cinematically, if that makes sense. Like, he wasn't strictly a filmmaker because he had been choreographing and dancing for years before he made his first film.
True.
But the film that Rob Marshall did, and Rob Marshall's entire career is still riding on the genius decisions he made for the Chicago film. Let me just say that here. Rob Marshall has yet to make one film that even touches the quality of this first Chicago.
What has he made?
He made Into the Woods, he made Mary Poppins Returns, he made Pirates of the Caribbean 4, Memories of a Geisha, and yeah.
Yeah, no, none of those are very good.
No. But he's been riding off how fucking good Chicago is. It's completely riding on him. Like, I can't take that away from him.
Oh no.
So
he made Annie.
Yes, your favorite. So the framing device in the musical. This is on paper a very hard musical to adapt to film. Like, you can imagine that, right, Andrew? Just from what you've seen.
Well, I mean, it's basically all dance numbers, and I've never seen a movie that's all dance numbers, so.
And this does not take that away, because in most movie musicals, they just make it more grounded, make it normal and all that, like try to bring it into reality, Les Mis style, so to say.
So, I'm hoping you're about to tell me they went the Moulin Rouge route?
Kind of. Yeah, that is a fair way to say it. So, we still have the foot in reality and we're grounded through our main character, Roxy. But when she has these fantasy sequences, and we cut between the fantasy sequences and reality. So she's seeing all the song and dance numbers in her head, like in this fantasy cabaret, and then they intercut it and edit it between the reality, which is dull, drab, and like really depressing. And with these like beautiful sequins and all that. And they really make the girls look gross and ugly in the real prison, but they make them look beautiful and dancing and bare-legged and all that in her fantasy. And that's such a good idea. And the way that it's edited and the way the dancing is shot and the way it's choreographed, they adapt Fosse's original choreography for this. It is so good. It is telling the story better, and it visually tells you everything about these characters, their wants, their needs, in a way that the Broadway show kind of doesn't.
Well, the Broadway show is basically, if we go with that route, it's only the fantasy elements of it. Everything is stylized. Everything is that way.
Mm-hmm. Which is, I feel like I'm losing a lot of story when I see the Broadway production or any stage production of this, because a lot of the visual cues that were brought into the film just can't be done there. Like, all of it just feels so much less impactful. And it's really, and you know me, I never say this, but it works better as a film than it does a stage musical. Hey, jazz lovers, we're sorry to interrupt you in the middle of the show, but we've got a shill at you. So, today's show is brought to you by the extremely kind donations by our donors over at Patreon. Our current patrons are Stephanie L., Terry Needleman, Max Lunig, Benjamin Lair, Lily Ackles, Mackenzie Horner, John Donna, Taryn the Duck, The Fantastic, Jess Lightning, Ewan Cassidy, Haley McDonald, Teskier, Fire of September, Mina Mo Neary, Monica Thoreau, Brent Toll, Black, Haley Murray, Allison Wonderland, B-Way Flicks, Nathaniel Stacy Coombe, Joseph Evans Green, Lunarox 222, Ure Gold, Drew A. Whiter, Carrie Ahern, Christine Malmedel, Mezzanine Theater Diary, Mary Lou Shokit, Ann Nunnally, Cole Birchfeld, Sam Caulfield, John Van Als, Hollyistically, Russ Walker, Musical Hell, Julian Bach, and Emily Gracie. Thank you guys for supporting us. We hope you guys are still enjoying the show so far. All right, let's get on back to it. All That Jazz is such a great opening number. Like, as soon as like that muted trumpet just starts, I'm like, I'm ready for this. Inject it into me.
I like that it's not sung by the main character either. It's sung by the secondary lead.
And because it sets up the world, like that is Roxy's ideal like life. And in the movie, they do a cool edit where she sings. She's up there singing with her for a period and being in her spot. So without having a single I Want song, we know exactly what Roxy wants.
She wants all that jazz.
That jazz. So we both get, like, Velma's life, her normalcy, and what she lost, like, how far she's fallen. And we also get Roxy knowing exactly what she wants and what she strives to be.
It's a great song. The whole setup of it as well, where you have the Roxy and the guy who I honestly can't remember his name that she kills.
Fred Casey!
That whole setup going on during the song number as well is pretty cool.
Yeah, it is pretty cool.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. I don't have a single fault with this opening number. Like, this is one of those shows where I don't think I can find one song I actively hate in it. Like, it's... all the songs are solid, because it's Kander and Ebb. Kander and Ebb is, like, top-tier, greatest, like, songwriters of all time.
I mean, they really are. There's a lot of, like, pretty well-known songs in this, too. I mean...
iconic.
Yeah.
Iconic in their own way.
I mean, All That Jazz, I feel like, is one... I've definitely heard Mr. Cellophane before, and I think I've heard Razzle Dazzle before, and I've never seen the movie or the musical before this.
Like, these are songs that both work extremely well in the context of the show, but also on their own as actual songs.
Yeah.
So yeah, All That Jazz is a great opening number, and sadly, there's not much to say about it.
Oh.
Aside from, it works.
Pop, sit, squish. Cicero, lip shit. Pop, sit, squish. Cicero, lip shit. He had it coming. He had it coming. He only had himself to blame. If you'd have been there, if you'd have seen it, I bet you would have done the same. Pop, sit, squish. Cicero, lip shit.
You know how people have these little habits that get you down? Like Bernie. Bernie liked to chew gum. No, not chew, pop. Well, I come home this one day, and there's Bernie laying on the couch chewing. No, not chewing, popping. So I said to him, Bernie, you pop that gum one more time. And he did. So I took the shotgun off the wall, and I fired 2 warning shots into his head.
He had it coming. He had it coming. He only had himself to blame.
Cell Block Tango. That's a good one.
Cell Block Tango is probably the best song in the show.
It's a very cool, I would say, the most memorable scene, or one of the most memorable scenes in the show. I remember seeing advertising for the show, the movie, way back, and I was like probably 6, but I still remember seeing these like women like behind bars as advertising for something, and I was like, what is that? And I just remember Chicago. It was Chicago.
And it is an iconic, like, this scene is the reason why Chicago is iconic.
Yeah. Do you know what the person who's speaking Hungarian or German or whatever they are says?
It's Hungarian.
Is it Hungarian?
She basically says, like, I was in a weird situation, like, I really honestly didn't do it, and I was not guilty.
She's the only one. I guess it's meant to be ironic, but she's the only person that actually gets hanged in the show, and she's also
she's the only one that probably didn't do it.
Yeah, she's the only person that actually is honest and is like, I really didn't do it, and not like, I didn't do it, wink.
Well, even though I didn't do it, wink is like, he fell into my knife. He fell into my knife 5 times.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, I didn't do it. Wink.
Some men just can't hold their arsenic.
It's fun though. I like it reminds me of like a Sweeney Todd style number where they're like just singing about murder, but it's in like a funny way. It's fun. It's a good one.
But how many songs about murder or like dark things do you really hear about from women in these musicals that we've watched?
Well, A Little Priest.
Yeah, but that's like a duet. That doesn't really count.
I mean, it was her idea.
The entire movie was her idea. The entire show was her idea.
It's not true. He wanted to kill 2 people and specifically. She just...
Only because he found out that he raped and killed his wife, basically. Which was based, you could say, might be a lie from Mrs. Lovett.
Maybe. So, yeah.
Either way, he's a creep.
That's about the only one I can think of, though. Cell Block Tango is the big one.
Is a really, really, really big number. Iconic in the way that it was done in the movie. Very, like, compelling, like, as a framing device for how these women that we're going to see and, like, what they've been through. And comedic but scary at the same time. It's, like, really a funny song.
Yeah. No, it's great. It's definitely iconic for a reason.
Mm-hmm. And it builds, like, it's an actual song that builds. It doesn't just fizzle. It's like, yep, it gets loud and boisterous and intense, and the choreography is amazing for this number.
How you feeling? Very frightened. Are you sorry?
Are you kidding?
What's your statement? All I'd say is, though my choo-choo jumped the track, I'd give my life to bring him back. And stay away from jazz and liquor. And the men who play for fun. That's the thought that came upon me when we both reached for the gun.
Understandable. Yes, it's perfectly understandable, comprehensible, not a bit reprehensible. It's so defensive.
I want to talk about We Both Reach for the Gun.
Okay, this was my favorite part. So
I don't blame you at all for this. And I think this is probably the most well-done scene in the movie.
This is the best dance number, in my opinion. And it's not even, like, it's great dancing, it's just very creative.
Mm-hmm. And Bob Fosse was big on this creative dancing where it's like, you don't move unless you need to, but because when you do move, it'll mean something. So it's like very limited. Like just having Roxy in the chair and flipping up, like that is a dance move in her own. Yeah. And when you do move her, it means much more.
Yeah, it's cool. I like it. In the movie version, you did send. I didn't watch the whole movie, sadly, but I did watch this scene because Jess sent it to me as a reference. And holy crap, it's got some weird stuff going on, and yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, I wish more movie musicals would like embrace the stylization. I know you didn't like Moulin Rouge, but I wish more musicals were like that than say Cats.
I mean, I didn't like Moulin Rouge, but I didn't like hate it. Like I thought it was fun and creative. It's just a little bit too. It doesn't lean into itself enough, honestly. It's like, it's wacky sometimes, but then other times it's like, oh, we're done being wacky.
Sincere sadness.
It's like, what? Why are you done being wacky? I liked it when you were wacky.
But this kind of does both the wacky and the sincere very well, too.
But it does.
This song is insanity.
It does it at the same time, though. Because this number cuts back and forth between an actual press conference that's actually happening and this ridiculous ventriloquist act that's going on, where Billy is just puppeteering everyone.
I mean, also I like that it just exists as it is. They don't need like a lean-in line, like, man, I can work this room like they're puppets, and then you turn around.
Yeah, that would have honestly, even just one mention like that would have ruined it.
The very subtle, like, shut up dummy was enough.
Yeah.
Like, that did the job. You don't even lesser musical would have, like, been really on the nose with it.
You don't even really need, like, a direct setup. Like, he could have, if he just went into it, you would have understood what is actually happening. You know, just because of the characters and what's happening at that point in the story.
Like, it's a metaphor that exists on its own without, like, lampshading.
Exactly. It's great.
It's an A+ song for an A+ show.
A for effort. And also for being
C
good.
for Chicago.
Fair. All right, what else?
Do you think that They Both Reach for the Gun would be a good defense in an actual court?
I mean, you're basically proposing that it's self-defense over just, you know,
plain cold-blooded murder.
Yes. So it is a good defense, though. I mean, that'd be something nowadays, or they'd be looking for proof of that. like proof of a struggle, proof of fingerprints that they both have on the gun, something like that. Like, this took place in, what, the 20s, when they probably didn't have any sort of standard for evidence like that.
The best part is about murdering people in the 20s. You could kill someone, and if you weren't there when the police find out, nobody knew you did it.
Yeah, honestly, though, like, I'm sure there was a ton of unsolved crimes back then because they just didn't have the forensics options that we have now.
Right. Like, even in the 70s, they didn't have the forensics options that we have now.
And once we get to Minority Report levels, I mean, it's not going to be, you can't even make a musical like this, because they just know you did it before you even did it.
God, I gotta stop thinking about them crimes I want to do. They're gonna catch me torrenting before I torrent! Oh no! Tom Cruise, get away from me!
We're breaking in because you were about to look at porn.
No!
What? No, I wasn't. Yeah, you were.
No, you can't prove it.
Yeah, but like,
I've got this little rolly ball that tells me you're gonna do it.
Dude, Minority Report's such an interesting... Is there a musical on that yet? Like, I'd watch that.
Isn't it Les Mis? It's basically Les Mis.
In a way, I mean, thematically, I mean, you have the Javert type, like, these crime reporters are never wrong kind of thing, and then the point of the story is that, yeah, they are sometimes.
I mean, did you like Minority Report?
I do, actually. I think it's a fun movie.
I think it's got some great moments, but oh my god, that middle chunk, the like most of the second act is very bad in my opinion.
Part of it is, I feel like once it gets towards the end, it starts to get better again, though.
Yeah, but like when he just goes to an old lady's house and she tells him exactly how to solve everything.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
And then he has to get new eyes, and then there just happens to be a gross sandwich next to the normal sandwich, and he eats the gross. It becomes like a fucking Buster Keaton movie for about 20 minutes.
Okay, I agree, but it's a sci-fi movie, and the sci-fi premise is neat and pretty cool, and I like it. So that's that. You know what? That's
I
my
mean,
thought.
I agree, but we gotta stop giving Spielberg movies. Spielberg desperately just wants to entertain people, and I'd rather that film have gone to like Denis Villeneuve, who like did Blade Runner 2049.
Yeah, it's true. Because Minority Report is like a legitimate sci-fi story that could actually have like really interesting, thought-provoking ideas behind it, but
honestly, and then fucking Spielberg's like, I want to do my Indiana Jones shit. He's gonna be walking on these fast cars, and he's gonna be on the run. She's gonna tell him to get umbrellas, and then they're gonna blend in with the other umbrellas.
Yeah, like, it's okay. It's fine. It's not a bad movie, but it's not, like...
That's why I'm very interested to see what Spielberg's gonna do with West Side Story this December, if that movie still comes out this December.
Man. Well, his last offering of, what the hell was that movie called?
Ready Player One.
Oh, God, that was not good.
I have not watched it because it looked bad.
I watched it in theaters because I'm friends with nerds. I was the only person, it was me and two friends at 11 o'clock showing by ourselves in the theater.
Thing I've ever heard.
We were like laying over the seats and shit and just like laughing, and it's just it was such a dumb movie.
That film just looked like cringe to the movie.
It's just like, remember this movie? Remember this movie? Hey, remember this movie? It's just...
Say what you will about musicals, we don't get musicals like that. We just revive the musical again.
Yeah, I mean, movies are doing that now, too. The thing with musicals, though, is it's like a standard where, like, if you redo it, it's just replacing actors, basically. It's not like redoing it, but, like, changing certain things to make it worse. And
well, look at the Oklahoma revival. That's, like, a real big change to it.
That's true, but Oklahoma's, like, super old.
And even the Chicago revival is, like, a really, like, drastic change to, like, the visual style and the musical style.
And we'd say, okay, fellas, okay, we're going home. But here's a few more parting shots. And this we did in perfect unison.
I
Mr.
can't do it
Cellophane.
alone. We're just okay, fucking.
I don't care. I can't do it alone. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, because the dancing's really cool.
Okay. I thought you hate dancing, Jess.
I like it in this musical.
Why?
I think it's just really impressive here. I don't like group numbers in general, like, because I'm a fucking lame-o.
Every song in this is a group number, though.
Not Velma's. Velma's is almost always like a solo dance number.
Except for All That Jazz.
All That Jazz is an opening number. You're supposed to have an ensemble for an opening number.
Okay. Admit it, though, you like the dancing in this because you like All That Jazz, the movie, and that's all about the guy that made the dancing for this.
Bob Fosse is the best choreographer that's ever, like, existed on Broadway, sir. It's not just because I like him and how he directs movies. It's because he's good at choreography, Andrew.
You just like the movie so much. Admit it. Admit it.
Why am I getting fucking cross-examined for liking things?
You don't like dancing at anything, and now all of a sudden, this guy makes something, and you're like, this is I love the dancing.
Oh my fucking god. The dancing is very difficult, it's very impressive. It's not just space filler. Like, the dancing is integrated into the song. Like, the dance moves are being described as part of the music.
Alright, that's fair. The dancing is really good in this.
Oh, you're just saying that because I convinced you. Admit it, Andrew.
Yes.
Fuck, fine. Mr. Cellphone, Jesus Christ.
And even without clucking like a hen, everyone gets noticed now and then. Unless, of course, that person it should be invisible, inconsequential, me. Cellophane, Mr. Cellophane, should have been my name, Mr. Cellophane, 'cause you can look right through me, walk right by me, and never know I'm there. I tell you, Cellophane.
Mr. Cellophane. It's a fun song.
Yeah, it's a great song. It's a fun number. Everyone knows Mr. Cellophane.
Amos Hart is a funny character, and I wish that there was a bit more of him in this, but...
I disagree. He's a tragic character. He makes me really sad.
I wish there was more of him in this.
Oh, I agree. But he's really sad. Like, he is. I feel so bad for him.
I wanted more of him, and I also wanted more of Billy. And they're kind of opposites, but I wanted more of both of them.
What Andrew's trying to say is, PC gone mad, where are all the men? Why are all these women on stage the whole time? I want the men. He's a part of the MRA, and yeah.
No, I just think that they were both fun characters. And Velma and Roxy are kind of the same character in a way, and I don't know, I have enough of them.
Andrew hates women.
True.
But unrelated.
Unrelated to this, though.
Yeah, I like Mr. Cellophane. I think we have enough of Billy. Like, I feel like we get a little too much of him.
I can agree with that, but I do want more. I want more of Mr. Cellophane.
Yes, but maybe he was there the whole time you didn't know, because you could look right through him, walk right by him, and never know he's there.
That's true. I mean, honestly, maybe he had like 4 or 5 numbers. I just fell asleep for all of them.
Because yeah, and what if someone yelled fire in the second row? The whole place is a powder keg, and you didn't even notice him.
Couldn't even notice him.
Yeah.
All right. Fair enough.
You can like the life you're living. You can live the life you like. You can even marry Harry, but mess around with Ike. And that's good, isn't it grand? Isn't it great? Isn't it swell? Isn't it fun? Isn't it? But nothing stays. In 50 years or so,
it's gonna change, you know. But oh, it's heaven nowadays.
We need to talk about nowadays.
Now, yeah, this is the final big number, right?
Yes, and can I tell a story about this that everyone in the audience already knows, but I know Andrew doesn't, so fuck you. I don't really do this for an audience. I do it only for Andrew, who is my audience.
I'm here. I'm listening. What do you got?
So this was actually a really, really big, in the original run, this was started a real big fight behind the scenes.
Why is that?
So Bob Fosse was working on this with his ex-wife. Well, they were still married, but they were not together.
Yeah.
Gwen Verdon, who played Roxy. And the big debate was, is this Roxy's show, or is it Gwen's show, or is it Bob's show, or is it Velma's show, and all that?
Mm-hmm.
Like, who does it belong to?
Who ends it?
Exactly. So the song was written because they had a shitty final number that just didn't work at all. And so Kander Ebb went off and wrote this in an apartment for like an hour and then came back like, okay, we did this. And they play it, they have Gwen sing it, and she does a really good job. And everyone's in agreement that this should be the final number. It's a really good song. And then Bob's like, it shouldn't be a solo. It's got to be both of you. And it's a real big fight ensues. And the girl that's playing Velma, who is Cheetah Rivera in the original production, is like, I don't want to sing the song. It's Gwen's song. And he's like, no, it has to be both of you. And
why?
Gwen's like, it was an ego thing, basically. I mean, there's been debates about it, just because he didn't want Gwen to be in the spotlight at the end of the show, or because he honestly thought it was the best thing for the show. It's honestly
a bit of an odd choice, because it's really not Velma's show. It's Roxy's show. But
I don't know, but I like it as a duet. I personally like it as a duet, but I can see in that moment, as if you're Gwen Verdon and you see the man that you used to like, love, and be married to, and had a really messy divorce because he didn't divorce, a really messy breakup because he kept fucking other women, who's telling you do not get your solo number at the end of the show. I could see why you take it personally.
Yeah, because, yeah. It's like the other person that he's telling to be in it doesn't even want to be in it.
Yeah, that was one of the wackier things I got to read in the Bob Fosse book, which I recommend to everybody out here. Because that's all I got is fun anecdotes about the behind the scenes, because I don't have anything new to bring to fucking Chicago. Carrie Ahern, why did you recommend this show?
She's I don't know. Why are you being so mean? Carrie Ahern just wanted to hear us talk about Chicago.
What is there to say about shit? It's good.
There's plenty to say about Chicago. It's dark and drab and black.
We spent a good
underpants.
We spent a good chunk of the episode talking about Ready Player One.
We are both in our underwear right now talking about Chicago. Isn't that weird enough?
Writhing on top of each other because he had it coming.
Everything I say is coming out of Jess's mouth. That's what is going on right now.
I'm sitting on his lap in my underwear. He's in his underwear. Hand going up my ass. Puppeteer in my mouth.
I stuck my hand up my ass and I called myself Jim Henson.
He put a penny in his asshole.
I don't really have anything else to say. It's a good show.
No shit. You don't say.
Cheese rating time. Let's go.
I think Chicago's great. It's hard to be negative about it. I think Chicago gets a good Chicago style cheese pizza.
Hell yeah. Chicago deep dish. I mean, you gotta give it a Chicago deep dish. So that's what I'm gonna give it as well. And I'm gonna say that if you haven't seen this already, watch the movie. It seems like that sounds like the good option.
Yeah, watch the movie. I don't see it on Broadway unless there's someone really famous that you're like, hey, I could see them in person.
Or if you like the show and want to see it on Broadway, you can do that too.
There's so many other better shows on Broadway, guys. Go see Six or something. But Broadway's not open, so watch the movie, because that's all you got.
Yeah, that's all you got. You don't even have an option. You gotta watch the movie.
can I whine about something really quick? The movie is almost perfect, but Renee Zellweger is a terrible choice for Roxy because she makes a lot of choices that I don't like and is a bit annoying. But you know who Rob Marshall's first choice for the role was?
Who?
Toni Collette from Hereditary and Knives Out. And oh my god, I wish I lived in that world.
Yeah. She's a little scary looking though, isn't she?
I like that. She's got an interesting face.
Then again, she is supposed to be a murderer, huh?
Yeah.
I guess that would make sense.
She looks more like Eileen Wardrose than fucking Liza Minnelli, but sure.
Yeah, and also, she wasn't in Shark Tale, so that's a positive.
But don't you love Will Smith? Haven't we set up that you're a big fan of Will Smith?
Did we set that up at some point?
Yeah, you love Will Smith. He's your favorite actor of all time.
Oh, right, because we watched Annie, right?
Yeah. No. All right, guys. Thank you for listening. Please follow us on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, at Musicals with Cheese. Our Twitter is at Cheesy Musicals. Our Patreon is Musicals with Cheese. Our Instagram is Musicals with Cheese. Our YouTube page is Musicals with Cheese. Our email is musicaltheaterlives@gmail.com. Our Instagram is at oh, fuck me. Please go follow Jolene Casco on Instagram at Jolene Casco. She made our title card. Andrew, is there anything else you have left to say?
Chicago.
This episode's a fucking mess, and it's all your fault, Carrie Ahern.
That guy that directed Annie, and now it's all one thing.
All right, guys. Hopefully next week we have a better episode for you. We'll see you next time on Musicals with Cheese.
Oh, it always falls apart at the end, huh?
Our life is falling apart, Andrew.